like you should be grateful I even let you step inside.
I'm sorry, I'll clean it.
Clean it. You can't even afford the shoes you're near. Get out before I call security.
You might want to wait to do that, because this house actually belongs to me.
Look at you. Do you know how much these slippers cost?
No, ma.
Get out. Call security.
Call security. You may regret it.
The glass hit the floor before I could move. Tenny Adekunle stared at me with a smile that made my stomach tighten. "You're only a cleaner," she said. "Know your place." The entire mansion went silent. What she didn't know was that I had not entered that house to clean floors. I had entered that house to find out the truth. And that afternoon, after she humiliated me in front of everyone, I found the first thing I had been looking for. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you emotional stories that stay with you. If you're new here, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss a story. My name is Abimbola Adeola. But for the 3 weeks I had worked in that mansion, everybody simply called me the cleaner. I didn't mind. In fact, that was exactly how I wanted it. Every morning, before the sun became too hot, I would walk through the tall black gate of the Adekunle residence in Ikoyi, carrying my small handbag and wearing the same dark blue uniform. The mansion was enormous. There were polished marble floors, expensive paintings, a wide staircase with glass rails, and a chandelier hanging above the entrance that looked like it belonged in a hotel. A security guard stood at the gate. There was a driver. There were 2 other domestic workers. And then there was Tenny. Tenny was 26, beautiful, educated, and extremely confident. Too confident. The first day I met her, she looked at my uniform, then at my shoes. "You're the new cleaner." "Yes, Ma." She smiled. "Good. Just don't touch anything that doesn't concern you."
Good.
I nodded.
Just don't touch
I
anything
understand.
that doesn't concern
She
you.
walked away without
understand,
another
Ma.
word. I watched her disappear upstairs. Something about that house already felt familiar. I couldn't explain it. Maybe it was the smell. Maybe it was the old wooden staircase. Or maybe it was the feeling I got every time I walked past the hallway leading to the study. I had been inside that house before, years ago, but nobody there knew that, not even Tenny. The only person who sometimes looked at me for more than a few seconds was her father, Adebayo Adekunle. He was a successful businessman and the CEO of a large construction company. Unlike his daughter, he was usually quiet. Whenever he saw me working, he would simply nod. "Good morning." "Good morning, sir." That was all. But there were moments when he stared at me strangely, as if he was trying to remember where he had seen my face. I always looked away first. I had come to that house with one purpose. I needed to know what had happened to my mother. Years earlier, my mother had worked for the Adekunle family. Then one day, she disappeared from their lives. No explanation. No goodbye. And before she died, she gave me one instruction. "Bimbo," she had whispered.
Yes,
"If
ma'am.
you ever get the
Good.
chance to enter
Just
that
don't touch
house,
anything
look
that
for the
doesn't
blue
concern
room."
you.
I had
understand,
asked
ma'am.
her what was inside. She never answered. That was the secret I carried into the mansion. For 3 weeks, I searched quietly. I cleaned bedrooms. I dusted shelves. I washed dishes. I listened. But I never found the blue room. Then came that Saturday. Tenny was preparing for a small gathering with her friends. Music was playing downstairs. The kitchen smelled of fried rice, chicken, and pepper soup. I was cleaning the glass table when Tenny walked in wearing a pink designer dress. She looked at the table. Then she looked at me. There. I stopped. "What, Ma?" "That spot." She pointed toward the table. "You missed it." I looked carefully. There was a tiny fingerprint on the glass.
Always saying
"I'm sorry. I'll
Do you
clean
know how
it."
much this table costs?
I reached for
No,
my
Ma.
cloth. Tenny suddenly
course you
grabbed it
don't.
from my hand. You people are always saying sorry. I stayed quiet. She laughed. Her friends were watching from the sofa. Do you know how much this table
You
costs?
people are always saying
No, Ma.
sorry.
Of
Do
course
you know
you
how
don't.
much this table costs?
One of
No,
her
Ma.
friends giggled. Tenny
course you
stepped
don't.
closer. You came here to work, not to behave like you're part of the family. My fingers tightened around the edge of my uniform. I understand. Do you? Yes, Ma. She picked up a glass of water. For 1 second, I thought she was going to drink it. Then she threw it directly at me. Cold water ran down my face. Her friends burst into laughter. Nobody moved. I slowly wiped my eyes. Tenny smiled. Next time, pay attention. I looked at her. I wanted to say something. So many words were sitting in my throat. But I swallowed them. Because I remembered my mother's final warning. Don't let anger make you forget why you entered that house. I lowered my eyes. Yes, Ma. Tenny turned away. But as everyone returned to their conversation, I noticed something on the floor. A small old photograph had fallen from Tenny's handbag. I bent down and picked it up. The moment I saw the picture, my heart stopped. There was a younger Adebayo Adekunle standing beside a woman I knew, my mother's face. My hands began to shake. I turned the photograph over. There was writing behind it. 3 words. She knows everything. I looked toward the staircase. And for the first time since entering that mansion, I realized something terrifying. My mother had not simply worked for the Adekunle family. She had been hiding something from me, something that could change everything. And someone in that house knew the truth. If you're feeling this story, hype it so others can find it. Comment where you're watching from. Now, back to the story. I slipped the photograph into my pocket before anyone noticed. But I had barely taken 2 steps toward the kitchen when I heard a man's voice behind me. Abimbola. I froze. It was Adebayo. He was standing at the bottom of the staircase. His eyes were fixed on me. Not on the cleaning cloth. Not on the table. On my face. And his expression had changed. He looked frightened. Where did you get that picture? I opened my mouth. But before I could answer, Tenny came rushing down the stairs. Daddy! Adebayo didn't look at her. He kept staring at me. Then he whispered something that made my blood run cold. Who are you? Who are you? Mr. Adekunle's question hung in the air. I couldn't answer. Tenny looked from her father to me, confused. Daddy, what are you talking about? He finally looked at her. Go upstairs. But, Tenny, go upstairs. His voice was different. Not angry, afraid. Tenny stared at him for a few seconds before turning around. I waited until she disappeared. Then, Mr. Adekunle looked at me again. Where did you get that photograph? I slowly brought it out of my pocket. I found it on the floor. He took it from my hand. The moment his eyes landed on the back of the photograph, his face changed. You read this? I nodded. He looked around the room. Then he lowered his voice. Who sent you? Nobody had sent me, but I couldn't tell him that. My mother told me about this house. His fingers tightened around the photograph. What was your mother's name? I swallowed. Adesua. The photograph slipped from his hand. For several seconds, he didn't move. Then he whispered, Adesua is dead. I know. He looked at me sharply. When did she die? 2 years ago. He stepped backward. I had never seen a wealthy man look so helpless. Where did she live? I gave him the name of our old neighborhood. He closed his eyes. Then he sat down. Why didn't she ever contact me? That question confused me. You knew her. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked toward the staircase. Did she tell you about the blue room? My heart jumped. I tried not to show it. Yes. His eyes widened. What exactly did she tell you? I shook my head. She only told me to find it. He stood up suddenly. Leave this house. I stared at him. Sir, you need to leave. Why? Because if Tenny finds out why you're here, she will destroy you. I almost laughed. Tenny had already humiliated me. But that wasn't what frightened me. It was the way Mr. Adekunle had said those words. He wasn't protecting me from Tenny. He was protecting me from the truth. Before I could say anything else, we heard footsteps. Tenny appeared at the top of the staircase. Daddy? He immediately turned away from me. Go to your room. Why are you talking to her? Because she works here. You've never spoken to any cleaner like this before. Silence. Tenny slowly walked down the stairs. Her eyes moved between us. Then she looked at the photograph in her father's hand. What's that? Mr. Adekunle quickly placed it behind his back. Nothing. Tenny frowned. She knew he was lying. And so did I. That evening, I almost packed my things. But I couldn't leave. Not now. There was something in that house my mother had wanted me to find. And I was closer than I had ever been. Later that night, the mansion became quiet. The lights in the sitting room went off one by one. I waited. Then I left the small staff room and walked silently down the corridor. The hallway leading to the study was dark. I checked both directions. Nobody. I reached the study door. Locked. I remembered seeing Mr. Adekunle use a small key earlier that afternoon. I searched the nearby table. Nothing. Then I noticed something underneath an old flower vase. A key. My heart began beating faster. I picked it up. It fit the study door. I opened it slowly. The room smelled of old books and leather. There were shelves everywhere. I searched through drawers. Nothing. Then I noticed a painting hanging on the wall. It was a family portrait. Mr. Adekunle was much younger. Beside him stood a woman. I moved closer. My breath caught. It was my mother. But there was something else. A little girl stood between them. I stared at the child. She looked about 6 years old. Then I noticed the small birthmark near her left eye. I had the same one. I stepped backward. No, my voice barely came out. I searched through the drawers again. This time, I found an old file. The name on it was Abimbola Adiola. My hands shook. I opened it. Inside was a birth certificate. Then another document. Then a photograph. And finally, a letter. I recognized my mother's handwriting immediately. I unfolded it. There were only a few lines. If my daughter ever finds this, she deserves to know the truth. My eyes filled with tears. I continued reading. Abimbola was never supposed to grow up believing she was alone. I stopped. A sound came from behind me. The door creaked. I turned. Tenny was standing there. Her eyes were fixed on the file in my hands. What are you doing in my father's study? I couldn't speak. She stepped inside. Then she saw the name on the file. Her face changed. Abimbola? I closed the file. She moved closer. Why is your name on that? I don't know. Give it to me. No. She reached for it. I stepped back. Give me that file. No. For the first time, I raised my voice. Tenny froze. She had never expected me to resist her. Then she laughed. You really think you can talk to me like that? I said nothing. She snatched the letter from my hand. Her eyes moved across the page. Then she stopped. Her face became pale. What is this? I reached for it, but she moved backward. Daddy! Her voice echoed through the hallway. Footsteps immediately came from downstairs. Mr. Adekunle appeared. The moment he saw the file, he stopped. Tenny held up the letter. Daddy, why does this woman have a file with her name in it? He didn't answer. Daddy! Still nothing. Tenny looked at me, then at her father, and slowly, a terrible thought seemed to enter her mind. Who is she? Mr. Adekunle closed his eyes. Enough, Tenny. No. Her voice cracked. You knew. He looked at her. She doesn't know everything. Tenny stared at him. Then tell me. Nobody spoke. Tenny's eyes filled with tears. Daddy, who is this woman? Mr. Adekunle finally looked at me, and this time there was no anger in his eyes. Only regret. Her mother was the woman I was supposed to marry. Tenny's mouth fell open. I couldn't breathe. He continued. But my father separated us. I stared at him. What are you saying? He looked at the old photograph. Your mother was pregnant when she left. The room went silent. Tenny slowly shook her head. No. Mr. Adekunle looked directly at me. You are not a cleaner, Abimbola. My knees nearly gave way. You are my daughter. Tenny screamed. And somewhere upstairs, something crashed to the floor. But none of us moved. Because the secret my mother had carried to her grave had finally come out. And there was one question nobody had asked yet. Why had my mother spent all those years keeping me away from my own father? You are my daughter. Those 4 words changed everything. I stood in the middle of the study, staring at Mr. Adekunle, my father, the man I had spent 3 weeks cleaning after, the man whose daughter had poured water on my face and called me worthless, the man my mother had spoken about only once before she died. Tenny looked at me as if she had just seen a ghost. No, she whispered. Her father turned toward her. Tenny, you said I was your only child. He lowered his head. I believed you were. She shook her head violently. So you knew about her? I didn't. But you just said she was your daughter. I only realized it tonight. Tenny's eyes filled with tears. Then she looked at me. I expected anger. Instead, I saw something I had never seen on her face before. Fear. She remembered everything. Every insult. Every time she had ordered me around. Every time she had made me stand outside while she ate with her friends. And especially the afternoon she threw water in my face. Her lips trembled. I didn't know, she whispered. I looked at her. Neither did I. Mr. Adekunle walked toward the old desk. My father hated your mother, he said quietly. He believed she was not good enough for this family. My chest tightened. So you left her? I didn't want to. He swallowed. But when I refused to obey my father, he threatened to cut me off from the company and everything he had built. And you chose the company. His eyes dropped. Yes. The word was painful. I made the worst decision of my life. He told me that my mother had been pregnant when she left Lagos. She never told him. She raised me alone. Years later, when she became seriously ill, she tried to contact him. But the letter never reached him. Someone in the family had hidden it. My hands shook. Who? Mr. Adekunle looked at the old file. My elder brother. The room became silent. He explained that his brother had feared that if I returned, I would have a legal claim to part of the family business. So my existence had been buried. My mother had spent years protecting me from a family she believed would reject me. Then, before she died, she finally told me the truth. She gave me one photograph and one instruction: find the blue room. I looked at my father. What is in the blue room? He didn't answer immediately. Then he walked toward the hallway. We followed him. At the end of the corridor was a door I had passed every day. It was painted blue. My heart began pounding. He unlocked it. The room was small. Dust covered the furniture. There were boxes everywhere. Mr. Adekunle switched on the light. I stepped inside. On the wall was a photograph of my mother. I stopped breathing. Underneath it was a small wooden box. My father opened it. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all written by my mother. Letters she had sent over the years, letters he had never received. I picked up one. My mother's handwriting was clear. Bio, if you ever find our daughter, tell her I never kept you away because I hated you. I kept her away because I was afraid she would grow up feeling unwanted. Tears rolled down my cheeks. My father turned away. His shoulders shook. For the first time, the powerful CEO of the Adekunle Group looked like an ordinary broken man. I should have looked for you, he whispered. I wiped my face. Yes, you should have. He nodded. I know. Behind us, Tenny began crying. She stepped toward me. I turned. She stopped, a few feet away. I treated you badly. I didn't answer. I thought money made me better than you. Her voice broke. I was wrong. I looked at the woman who had humiliated me only hours earlier. Then I remembered something my mother once told me. Never allow another person's bad character to change yours. I took a breath. I forgive you. Tenny covered her mouth. But forgiveness doesn't mean we pretend nothing happened. She nodded. I know. Mr. Adekunle placed his hand on my shoulder. You don't have to work here anymore. I looked at my cleaning uniform. For 3 weeks, I had worn it because I wanted answers. Now I finally had them. I won't. He looked surprised. But I also don't want your money. Abimbola, I didn't come here for your company. I looked at the photograph of my mother. I came here because I wanted to know if she had been forgotten. My father shook his head. No. He looked at the photograph. She was never forgotten. Months later, everything changed. Mr. Adekunle publicly acknowledged me as his daughter. The family secret was finally exposed. The old documents were corrected, and the man who had hidden my mother's letters was forced to answer for what he had done. But I never moved into the mansion. I started my own small cleaning and facility management company instead. My father offered to fund it. This time, I accepted his help, not because I needed his money, but because I finally had something I had never had before. A father who wanted to be there. Tenny changed too. She began treating the workers in the company differently. One afternoon, I visited the mansion. A young cleaner dropped a tray in the kitchen. She immediately began apologizing. Tenny walked over. It's okay, she said. Don't be afraid. The cleaner looked surprised. So was I. Tenny glanced at me. We both smiled. Sometimes, humiliation teaches a person what pride never could. And sometimes, the person you look down on is carrying a story you know nothing about. I entered that mansion wearing a cleaner's uniform. I left knowing who I was. I had not found a rich family. I had found my father, and more importantly, I had finally found peace. What would you rate this story? Drop 0 to 10 in the comments right now. If this story moved you, Hit subscribe for more emotional journeys every day.